As you've seen, the attack on our Second Amendment continues in the mainstream media. We're actually going to continue to take a look at this now with a special report filed by Aaron Dykes.
Aaron Dykes here for Infowars.com. Now, we've seen already how the gun grabbers will stop at almost nothing to advance their agenda as long as they get to rein in the Second Amendment right, because the fact that individuals have rights is very threatening to any authoritarian government, whatever its stripes, political stances, or colors. But the latest hoax we saw on MSNBC is just incredible. They went out of their way to distort gun owners and advocates of the Second Amendment right who were in testimony Monday with the parents of the Sandy Hook victims. And MSNBC deliberately edited testimony of Neil Heslin, the father of Jesse Lewis, as he advocated restricting assault rifles, banning high-capacity clips, which is fine. You can understand his grief, why he would speak out on that, even though I think it's a misguided position. I certainly sympathize with the families who lost children, with anyone who's lost children or family members in a tragedy. But what's not okay is the way that Martin Bashir, Lawrence O'Donnell, and other figures on MSNBC, on blogs across the internet, went with the hoax on purpose, where Neil Heslin, in the middle of his testimony, asked the rhetorical question, who of you in this room can answer this question? Why does anyone in this room need to have an assault rifle or a high-capacity clip? And he waits a few seconds, there's silence, and he says, no one can answer that question in this room. And so a number of gun rights advocates who were there at the hearing spoke up, saying that you shall not infringe on the Second Amendment.
I ask if there's anybody in this room that can give me one reason or challenge this question, why anybody in this room needs to have one of these assault-style weapons or military weapons or high-capacity clips. And not one person can answer that question or give me any.
It shall not be infringed.
All right.
And what they did was edited this part of the testimony, edited out the part where the father asked the question, and just made it look like people were interrupting this father's testimony who had just had children die in Sandy Hook, and obviously it's a very sympathetic moment.
We're all entitled to our own opinion, and I respect their opinions and their thoughts, but I wish they'd respect mine and give it a little bit of thought.
A father's grief interrupted by the cries of a heckler. That was the scene today in Hartford, Connecticut, where the parents of children killed at Sandy Hook Elementary testified before an audience that wasn't always friendly.
Deliberately distorted it, just like they deliberately edited the audio of the Trayvon Martin shooting to make it seem like it was racially motivated, when in fact it turned out that Zimmerman had often worked with the black community. He himself was a mixed race, and really race shouldn't have been the main issue of that. Certainly it's legitimate to question if his death was justified. We get that MSNBC is state-run propaganda for the Obama administration, just as Fox News was blatantly state propaganda during the George W. Bush years. And the next time they roll out a president, maybe they'll switch networks again, or maybe MSNBC will continue on its current track. I get it. What do you expect from a pig but a grunt? But what I don't understand is why they always paint anyone who asks questions, anyone who stands up for rights, anyone who says that we're being delivered hoaxes in the media to push an agenda, why those people are blamed, and why they always say, how dare you ask those questions or defend those rights because of the families who have victims from this tragedy. Why don't any of the parents from these tragedies, whether it's 9/11 or Sandy Hook or any the Colorado shooting, anything, why don't they get mad at the establishment using their tragedy to advance the establishment's agenda? It's very clear. We know that Feinstein was pursuing the assault weapons ban before the Sandy Hook shooting. It's very clear that Rahm Emanuel said their policy, that the Obama administration's policy, is to use crises. Don't let a good crisis go to waste.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
We know that the Patriot Act was written beforehand and on the books, and the Bush administration was looking for the excuse to get it put into law. We know that the Project for a New American Century wanted a Pearl Harbor-style attack to advance an American empire agenda, a multi-theater war overseas. We know they have agendas. They announced them. They've been uncovered, found by researchers, but they always say, how dare the researchers question, how dare you question those in power who admittedly are just seeking more power and will use any tragedy to find it. Why don't the parents get mad at the establishment for using their tragedy? That I don't understand. And why do we put up with MSNBC deliberately advancing hoaxes? It's sickening. Aaron Dykes signing off for Infowars.com.
So as you can see there, the mainstream media deliberately edited that to make it look bad for gun owners, to make them look bad, to continue this further demonization. And if that's not enough, the mainstream media just continues the attack on Second Amendment and on gun owners, as you will see here.
That those, crazy crackers on the right, like if they start with their very hateful language, just disgusted with the tone. So these guys have to be very, very careful. I think that's the other thing that these guys know is that those, crazy crackers on the right, like if they start with their very hateful language, that is going to kill them in the same way that they learned at their little retreat that let's not talk about rape.
So as you can see there, we're considered crazy crackers, but we also are doing the hate speech. But as we're about to show you here, it's not us that's involved in the hate speech, it's the mainstream media. Let's take a look at this.
In America's gun culture, I believe the NRA is the new KKK. Wow. And that the arming of so many black youth and loading up our communities with drugs and then just having an open shooting gallery is the work of people that, obviously don't have our best interest. And
pause. I've listened to the full interview. You can go listen to it for yourself. This is incredible. And you're racist if you want the Second Amendment, and it's our fault there's a gangster culture in rap and pit bulls, and Michael Vick, I guess, did that with those dogs. It's our fault, ladies and gentlemen.
But check it out. Gun owners aren't just the KKK. Apparently, we're also Nazis.
Surely finding Osama bin Laden, surely passing civil rights legislation as Lyndon Johnson was able to do, and before that, surely defeating the Nazis was a much more formidable task than taking on the gun lobby. This is a turning point in this country, and the president is going to have to do more than just make a speech about it.
So there you go. We're KKK members, we're Nazis, we're crazy crackers. They're pulling out all the stops, and just when you think it couldn't get any more ridiculous, check this one out.
The Supreme Court ruling in Heller, which struck down the District of Columbia's ban on handguns, laid out a good framework. It said an individual right to bear arms does exist, but it comes with limitations like every amendment. Those on the pro-gun side must recognize no amendment is absolute. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech. It's hallowed. But you still can't falsely shout fire in a crowded theater or traffic in child pornography. Those are reasonable limits on the First Amendment. But for the last several years, my particular focus in the area of gun safety has been on responsible gun ownership and background checks.
Which neither of those two things would have had anything to do with preventing Sandy Hook, as the person who supposedly perpetrated those crimes didn't get those guns illegally, didn't have a background check, and was going into a gun-free zone with guns and murdering people. So none of the stuff that guy just said made any sense at all. But where is this headed? Well, an NPR article that came out says that should gun owners have to buy liability insurance? Apparently they're saying you have to buy car insurance, so you should also have to buy gun insurance. And they aren't the only ones actually saying that. If you'll recall, I actually wrote an article back in the beginning of January when Kurt Eichenwald, the contributing editor at Vanity Fair, wrote an article titled, "Let's Repeal the Second Amendment." And one of the things that he talks about in there is that this amendment has nothing to do with modern America. A free state doesn't mean a free country. The phrase people doesn't mean all people. And basically, we need to have a new amendment, and gun owners should be forced to purchase insurance. He says the new amendment should read, "The people retain the right to keep and bear arms subject to reasonable restrictions deemed necessary by the Congress and the President to secure the lives and well-being of others." Really. And that the restriction he really wants to impose, and this is a quote, but here's the restriction I really want to impose, "Force all gun owners to purchase liability insurance." So basically, they're talking about an Obamacare now for gun owners. And it's just unbelievable. And now we go to the quote of the day. Happy the man who has been able to learn the causes of things. Virgil.
ProPure is introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. This is the Pro One Buy ProPure. You wanted it, you got it. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It cuts out the acid derivative of fluoride. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. This is a revolution against the tyrants. They love putting the toxic acid base of fluoride into your water. They love the fact that it's an adjuvant supercharging the trace Prozac in the water and the hormones and the other chemicals. By cutting out fluoride, you cut out the turbocharger in all the poison being artificially introduced into your body. This is what I use. It's a win-win. You get a high-quality product at the lowest price. You support the InfoWar. Get your ProPure with the new Pro 1 filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.